Greetings again, everybody. Welcome back to Dark Souls. Last time we went through most of the Duke's archives. This time we're going to go through the rest and then through one more area. It's rather short though, if you know what you're doing. The way onwards actually lies in that slightly hidden part of the archives, which is where Logan also waits if we had gone to the left here instead of straight ahead. If you somehow missed that lever, you will also never find the way to actually proceed in the game, because you have to go down here. So, our weapon is a fairly heavy looking one now, isn't it? It's a great axe. Or more specifically, it is a chaos great axe. A chaos weapon scale with humanity, and since we have quite a bit of humanity, it should be very powerful. And those crystal enemies, I reckon, they should be weak against fire, maybe. I mean, that's of course only if you equate crystal with ice, which by game standards might make sense, but it might also not. The shield is really interesting though. I am using a bone wheel shield with a lightning enchantment. It used to be much stronger. Essentially, it's less of a shield and more of a weapon though. It serves well blocking, but it doesn't have 100% physical block. Its real strength, as I said, lies in attacking. We'll see it in a bit. The attack of the shield actually hits multiple times, and, well, lightning enchantment or any other elemental enchantment will actually be fully applied to each of those hits. And now, hey, look at this. Another golden golem. Last time we saw one of those, there was someone hidden inside of it and we could, rescue someone. Maybe, just maybe, there will be someone inside this golem too. Who knows? The golden golem, by the way, acts much like the blue ones. But the attacks are slightly different. In essence, they're the same though. You'll just have to look out a little more. And oh hey! Who would have guessed? Look at that. Looks a little bit like someone we know.
It was you who rescued me. Why, thank you. I am Sieglind of Katarina. I don't know how I ended up in that crystal. It wasn't terrible in there, but I could hardly move. I must think of some way to repay you. Oh, have you seen my father? You wouldn't miss him. A suit of armor just like mine. Thank goodness. I knew he was here somewhere. Well then, now I must find him. Thanks again, truly. Now I shall just stay put and keep out of trouble.
So, Sigmaya has a daughter who looks much like him. At least, well, the suit of armor is the same. We don't actually know how they look underneath. You can tell they're different, by the way, by just looking at their weapon. Sigmaya is using the Zweihänder, while Sieglinde seems to be more of a fan of a claymore. They're both fairly good weapons, but I think, well, the Zweihänder is vastly superior, and there's better regular greatswords than the claymore, of course, because I quite like greatswords. And there, we could see the shield in action. It doesn't hit quite as hard as our axe, but that's only because we have 10 humanity, and the humanity scaling caps at 10, so this weapon is right now at its full potential. It's not a +5 Chaos Great Axe though, so it's not quite yet at its completely, absolutely full potential, but yeah. There's no more items by the wall, so we don't have to deal with those blue golems here. There is a rather nice, well, corpse lying here though. It holds the crystal set of armor. It's what the guy who was on the way to Seath's boss room was wearing, and we still don't know the name of that person. It's completely unimportant though. He was just a throwaway character we killed in one shot. Now down here, this area looks a little bit interesting. Should you, for whatever reason, be forced to come back here and go through here, you could just run past those. But hey, this is the first time I'm here, so let's actually deal with those. And thankfully, we can deal with them rather easily, using our Chaos Great Axe. 2 hits will suffice. That was some sloppy dodging on my part here, but still, we managed quite well enough. And there's nothing for us to get over there, so there's no real reason to fight those other blue golems in this area. We're now leaving the Duke's Archives, and we enter the Crystal Caves. Now, the Crystal Caves are where the real gimmick of this particular endgame stretch begins. Now, I might have stretched it just a tiny little bit when I said that the gimmick of the Duke's Archives was that it's essentially the early game, but a little more difficult. Yeah, I admit that. In this case, though, you will be able to fairly obviously see, or hint hint, not see, the gimmick. Overall, this area is pretty devoid of enemies, but that's not what I'm talking about. There's something special here, though. You might remember that guy over there. A moonlight butterfly. Yes, those were created by Seath as well, and they're now normal enemies. They don't aggro just like that, though. As for the gimmick, though, just listen and watch carefully here. Can you see it? Yeah, let's use a prism stone. Invisible floor, indeed. For first timers, this is quite a thing to figure out, but you actually can. I did. Eventually, you will just decide that it is best to jump off a pit if you can't advance. And that's how this game gets you. In this particular part, you can't really die. There's no way to fall off. Of course, this is just easing us into it. And yeah, not bothering with the moonlight butterflies. Fighting them isn't really interesting, no need to, and they're peaceful as well. Let's just say hi real quick. So yeah, first time you come around here, this might take you a while. Not only to figure out the gimmick, but also to actually traverse it, because you will be very careful. You will suspect twists and turns around every corner, because this is Dark Souls for fuck's sake. And yeah, the easiest way to mark your path is to shoot arrows. You can use prism stones though if you wish. Right now we're invaded, but later I'll tell you a little more about prism stones because boy are those interesting. Now, while we wait for our invader, let's maybe clear this arena a little bit by fighting that guy. Should make it a little easier. Fighting on here isn't exactly pleasant or easy in any way. And it's not a golden golem. We can barely see it, but it's in fact a golden one. We got a little lucky with this one, but don't worry, we will find another one under similar circumstances. And I was really entertaining the idea of fighting on invisible floor here. But yeah, I don't think it would have worked that well. And oh, he's using a weapon. And we'll be seeing that soon, maybe. But hey, died again. Now, luckily, that golden golem does not respawn. So we don't have to deal with them again, but there's another one down here. And hey, the path is straight, so don't worry. Once you get figured out where the path leads, you should be fairly easily able to just get across. Now this part is tricky. You're always supposed to stay on this a facet, I think it's called, and never go onto the left one, because then you will slide off. It looks like you should be able to walk on there, but really you're not. And you should be very careful fighting here, because yeah, just because of that reason. The other one was difficult to fight already, but this one is a little bit harder. But looks like we got lucky again and we're able to kill him with relatively ease. And we got a nice little titanite chunk out of it as well. Now there's nothing here anymore, so let's get back up there. It's always a little frightening to just, well, walk on what appears to be nothing. It's kind of well, I simultaneously like and don't like this area. At the same time, I like it because it's easy to get through it, actually. And yep, just drop right then here. So yeah, it's easy to get through there if you know where to go. I know where to go. And there's a bunch of crystal lizards down here. 3 in fact. I never seem to be able to get all of them though. So yeah, we can now go this way, which is where we're supposed to go. It is once more a straight path, but then there's also this way. It is a path with loads and loads of turns, and I am glad it is optional. So, I promised to tell you a little bit of prism stones, so why not use this opportunity? But there is no trick, by the way. You'll have to get across by paying attention to the snowflakes. But prism stones! Let's just quickly read the description while we're at it. Warm pebble emitting a beautiful phasing aura of 7 colors with a very rare 8. The rainbow stone does nothing special but can serve as a path marker and can be dropped off a cliff to judge height by the sound of descent. If a loud noise is heard upon its landing, then the fall of the ledge is surely lethal. Now, that's actually all there is to know, but someone on the internet actually went through all the trouble of figuring out which one is that rare color, or rather, he did some research on that subject, so let's quickly present his findings. And the results of his research were that there is no rare color, there's just 8 colors. And those 8 colors are white, red, orange, yellow, green, light pink, blue, orange, yellow, light bluish, green, and purple. Oh, looky there, I fell because I thought I was safe. Stupid mistake. Anyway, we're back now, and they will actually post the results of that research in the thread just for fun. Now, at the end of the last video, we listened to Logan's dialogue. Now, Logan said that to harm Seath, we have to actually destroy the primordial crystal. And yeah, this place is full of crystals, so maybe one of them is the one we're looking for. Hopefully. But yeah, I said that I'd simultaneously like and dislike this area. I said why I liked it, and this is why I dislike it. Not this specific part, but this is just well, the absolute worst. I'm just glad it's optional. But it's not very intuitive at all to figure out this invisible floor gimmick. It feels great to figure it out actually, but it's not really that well designed, I think. But hey, yeah, we got a blue titanate left for our troubles, not bothering with actually walking back, so yeah, homeward bone it is. Now, let's see. Apparently I am unable to actually hit any of the crystals here due to the terrain. Well, that's too bad. But hey, we can now actually proceed and get across there. Thankfully, this is a straight path. And the message just actually tells exactly where we need to go. And we're almost through this area. It's fairly short. There's just this room here, and then we're at the end of it. Of course, this is where most of the enemies of this area are, and they're all those skull oysters we already know from Ash Lake, at the bottom of the world. We know how to fight them exactly. It's best to lure them out one by one, obviously. They hit hard, and that could be a problem, especially if you somehow end up fighting more of those at the same time, because pretty much everything they can throw at you will stagger you. Unless you have fairly high poise, then you might be able to take a few hits. Of course, this is also a pretty good spot to get Twinkling Titanite or Purging Stones. Now there are about, if I'm not mistaken, 5 or 6 that are directly in your way. And you just have to time your hits very well in order to not get hit by them. And if you use a weaker weapon that doesn't stagger them with one hit, you will have to know just how many hits it takes to stagger them, because that way you can easily stun lock them. Of course, you will also have to wait for the stun animation to finish, because otherwise they won't be stunned again. But hey, I tend to forget this here, but there's actually an item here. Soul of a hero, nothing special, just some extra souls if you need them. But it's definitely good to know they're there. Now back to those skull oysters. I think I am going to spare you that and just speed up the process a little bit. The only thing aside from that to look out for is that there is one Skulleyster right to the left if you enter the room, and that can catch you off guard. For now though, we've dealt with those and we can proceed through that ominous fog and the cursed statues. This bodes really well. Our opponent shows himself, and it is none other than Seath, of course, because he sensed that we got close to the primordial crystal, which is the glowing thing we see right there. Now, to destroy it, we could just hit it with our axe, no problem. But this here is much more fun. So we just made Seath destroy his own crystal. We don't see it here. But yeah, this is actually the easiest way to get behind him and get a few hits on his tail, so you can chop it off. And chopping his tail off, that's actually really hard. Mostly because of this attack, you will just pound with those tails and sweep and yeah, and he'll kill you. So, second time around, there will be a fog gate which appears black due to the lighting for some reason. And you can just run past all those Skulleysters this time around because they won't follow you in the room. And you will have to destroy the crystal again to harm Seath, but to do that, you'll just have to get behind him. This isn't really hard though. It's easily doable. Now, chopping his tail off, as I mentioned, is fairly hard. It's probably one of the most difficult tails to chop off. But you get a rather unique and nice item for it, and I do want that, of course. So to get a few cheap shots in on him, or rather on his tail, it's best to make him destroy his own crystal. Once he winds up his attack, run behind him. He'll destroy the crystal, and once the crystal is destroyed, he'll be stunned for a second. So you can get in on the tail and attack it, though I think you have to hit it where there are no crystals protruding from it, so I kinda messed that up. The easiest way to do this is to just circle around him and wait for him to actually do his breath attack, and then get to the tail and hit it. You can rinse, repeat as often as it takes, and it's not really that hard. Just really make sure to slow down if needed so he can trigger his breath attack. And after a couple attempts, voila, you get the Moonlight Greatsword. Now though, I want to actually show you fighting him regularly and not just chopping his tail because he's already dead. Now, Seath, huh? For the third time now, and third time's the charm. This time we're gonna kill him. I like to just wait for it a little bit to make him get closer to the crystal, even if I don't make him destroy it himself. But this time I think I'll get the crystal myself. Seath essentially has two main attacks. One is his breath, and the other one is his tails. If you are in front of him, he'll use the breath, behind he'll use the tails. And the breath attack actually has two ranges, a short and a long range. If you stay close to him for a while and he does his long range attack, you should get away from him, because he will do the short range attack next probably, as you can see here. But he also has a fuck off attack, which I think is what he did here, which covers almost the entire area and curse crystals, so we have bring curse resistance. What you also saw me use there was Chaos Storm, which did quite a number on him. It raises flame pillars in random spots. But it is by no means a hard fight, especially not if you know how to dodge the crystals. I'm using the Dingy set here, which offers some curse resistance. There's better stuff for that though. But rather unceremoniously, he dies. And that's kind of sad, because I like the character, but the boss fight is kind of a letdown. But hey, before we finish this, let's have a quick look at the weapon we got from his tail. And yeah, after killing a boss, equip the Silver Serpent Ring for some extra souls. The Moonlight Greatsword is the strongest weapon in King's Field. Or, well, this isn't King's Field. But yeah, let's quickly read its description. This sword, one of the rare dragon weapons, came from the tale of Seath the Scaleless, the pale white dragon who betrayed his own. Seath is the grandfather of sorcery, and this sword is imbued with his magic, which shall be unleashed as a wave of moonlight. Interesting stuff right there. So, it has a really interesting gimmick. It is purely magic damage and scales with intelligence. It also has some magic attack waves, as we just saw. And that's about it for this weapon. I like it, it's fairly interesting and unique. But yeah, after that, and we got quite a few souls thanks to the Silver Serpent Ring trick. But anyway now, it's time once more to say goodbye. We're nearing the end of this LP. And I hope, of course, to see you for the coming few episodes as well. Until then though, see ya.